Hey there, folks. Welcome into the News 12 Now desk. Thanks for joining us here on this Friday, June 9th. We have made it to the end of the week. Hopefully everybody had a great week, and it's shaping up to be a pretty good weekend here. Let's take a look outside. I'm seeing some cloudy skies right now. Let's take a look right over Grovetown at I-20. You see some clouds out there. Nothing too crazy, though, and hopefully no rain in the forecast, and we'll be able to enjoy a nice dry weekend for the second weekend in a row now. That would be pretty good. We're taking a look here at our top headlines, some of the big stories going on across the area, really across the country. First, though, I want to remind you guys to download our WRDW streaming app if you haven't done that yet. It is just a quick search on your, first of all, your phone and your laptop, or your phone and your tablet, and then on your Roku, your Fire Stick, your Apple TV, if you've got any of those, just search WRDW up there. That'll get you access to everything that we do, I-Team investigations, first alert forecast, live newscasts, all that good stuff. Everything we do here at News 12 Now, that's all going to be up there on the streaming app. Also, if you want to check out our YouTube channel here, you just search WRDW News 12 on YouTube, and this will take you to our channel. You can subscribe right over here on the right. And look at that, we're live right now. You can check this out. Once this ad plays through, I'll show you. Boom, look at that. It's me showing you how to skip the ad and watch the stream. So yeah, if you do those couple things, that'll keep you up to date with everything going on in the community. The YouTube channel is great because it's all of our stories and forecasts and everything, shorter clips. If you don't have time to watch a whole newscast, it's a little bit easier to digest for you there. So you can do those couple things, and like I said, you'll be up to date with everything going on. But okay, let's jump now into our headlines. We'll start off here in the CSRA as we always do. The man accused of shooting a 13-year-old girl inside the Aiken Walmart will be staying behind bars. A judge denied bond for 32-year-old Stephen Christopher Foreman. The shooting happened at the Walmart on a Whiskey Road. First responders say he shot the girl in the arm and the stomach. While responding to the scene, police say Foreman called and told officers he was at a nearby KFC and had left his gun in the card section at Walmart. Sure enough, they found it on a shelf there. They took Foreman to the Aiken County Detention Center. Our Sydney Hood tells us people in the community came together to leave notes and cards for the victim and her family.
Shopping carts and shoppers are back, but 24 hours ago, it was a different scene out here.
No telling how her career will be affected, not to mention her mental state.
Sitting here is Stephen Foreman. He's accused of shooting a 13-year-old with no motive and now no bond, leaving a community searching for answers.
Hi, my name is Emma. I'm going into 7th grade. I don't know you, but I hope you feel better soon. A funny joke I know is, what has antlers and likes to be outside when it's wet? A reindeer. I hope that made you laugh. Feel better soon. Your friend, Emma.
We can't make sense out of something that's senseless, but we can respond with love.
Sometimes love comes in the smallest of ways.
I always want to pray, and then I always want to feel like, what else can I do? What else can I do that can help? And there's not much, but there's always something we can do. And I was like, what's something simple and easy that anyone can do?
Something as simple as picking up a crayon or a marker.
Just to give a little light to the family and let them know that the whole community is praying for them and sending them support, and that if they need something, there's a lot of people that they can reach out to.
Complete strangers drawing color into darkness.
And I just wanted to find a way to do something that could make a difference. I think sometimes the littlest things can make the biggest difference.
Again, our Sydney Hood reporting there, and Soulshine Yoga will be back at the American Legion Post 26, accepting more cards next Thursday. Doors open at 5, and there will be supplies to draw on cards, or you could bring them to drop them off, whichever you would prefer. All the cards and notes will be delivered to the victim's family as they begin what they are calling a long road to recovery ahead of them. Obviously, wishing that little girl the best. I think they said they've got at least 2 to 3 more surgeries. Did I just say that? No, I didn't. I think they said they've got at least 2 to 3 more surgeries upcoming as they continue on that road to recovery. But no motive, no relation, and now no bond for that suspect, as you heard Sydney say there.
Surgery one last night, no telling how her career will be affected, not to mention her mental state.
Now that victim, as I just said, has a couple more surgeries in the future after that one shot rang out. The Walmart was emptied out, law enforcement on standby outside the front doors as they searched for that gunman. They did find him, like I said, at that KFC after he called to turn himself in. Taylor Martin spoke with a man who sprang into action and chased the shooter out of that Walmart.
James Williams is the man who was just feet away from the victim when he heard shots ring out here at the Walmart on Whiskey Road in Aiken. And just seconds later, he was chasing the gunman out of the store. Stephen Foreman is the man who James Williams chased out of the garden section of Walmart. And he's being charged with attempted murder and possession of a weapon while committing a crime. Authorities say he used a Colt 1911 pistol to shoot a 13-year-old girl in the arm and stomach. And they also say that after he got out of the garden section of the store, he went to KFC and called them. The incident report says just moments after the shooting, the victim was semi-conscious, pale, and going into shock. James says he was only doing what was right in helping the victim and by chasing down the gunman. Authorities say the gunman and victim did not know each other, so therefore they believe this victim was chosen at random.
I tried to hold her legs and keep her still on the ground. She kept wanting to toss around and took off running after him. And once we felt sure that he got out of the garden section side of the store, that I took a left and went through the sporting goods section.
Now, as far as the victim's condition, earlier this morning, family was posting on Facebook and just saying that she had several surgeries to go. But last night after her first surgery, we did see that she was in stable condition. So we'll keep you updated on things that we find out.
Okay, thanks for that update there, Taylor. Appreciate it. And you can actually watch the full bond hearing up on our website, WRDW.com. I'm just pulling it up real quick so I can show you guys. We got an ad playing, of course. But if you go to WRDW, let's do it together. All right, if you go to WRDW.com, right here, bond denied for the man accused of shooting a teen at Walmart. This is the story I just showed you. But if you scroll down a bit here, this should be the bond hearing. Could be the other way around, but you get the idea. One of those is the bond hearing. All right, let's move along now. The Richmond County Sheriff's Office is looking for this man here. They say Jafir Elliott is wanted for questioning for an aggravated assault that happened on Skinner Mill Road last month. If you see Elliott or know where he may be, you are asked to call the Sheriff's Office. It's been 2 months since 15-year-old Zaire Person was shot in a splat gun party, that single bullet later taking his life while he was being treated at the hospital. Now the Richmond County Sheriff's Office is asking for any information about possible suspects. That shooting happened at the McDuffie Woods Community Center back on April 6th. Family says Zaire was an honor student and a member on the junior varsity and varsity football teams at Butler High School. Even now, details about what led up to that shooting are pretty vague. And yesterday, I think it actually was 2 days ago now, would have been his 16th birthday. His mother spoke to us about the investigation.
And it's hard because I feel like my baby should have been had his justice. He did not deserve to go the way he went.
And again, they are asking anybody with information to please give them a call. You can remain anonymous if you have a tip. A stepfather has been found guilty for murdering his stepdaughter in 2021. George Wilson stabbed Kelly Lewis to death inside an apartment on Broad Street. After a 3-day trial this week, a jury found Wilson guilty of malice murder, felony murder, and possession of a knife. The city of Augusta has hired a special cybersecurity legal firm to help the city with any ramifications from the cyber attack. The firm Mullen Coughlin can deal with legal troubles from sensitive data, including social security numbers and bank accounts made public by the security breach. One tattoo shop is finally open after regulations in Columbia County delayed things for months. This comes as the county decided to pause other applications for the next 120 days. Our Nick Vieland has a look at what this means.
A feeling of elation.
Randy Teston has fought for his business to open.
Now the paperwork finally went through and the Body Shop Tattoo Parlor is open following approval from the Columbia County Board of Commissioners.
You don't know until the paper's signed, so I mean, it was a good feeling coming in today.
The same commission unanimously voted to deny this request in the middle of May, preventing them from opening. Teston says that this cost his business money and his employees not being able to work.
And you know, I mean, I had about 30 grand in this place now, all said and done. But them not being able to take care of their families for that length of time, I mean, that was on my shoulders, and I felt terrible about it, but what could I do?
Teston now has the green light, but others who want to set up a tattoo shop in the county now have to wait. The commission stopped accepting new tattoo applications for the next 120 days. Commissioner Connie Malier said that she wants to figure out where to put tattoo parlors moving forward, wanting tattoo shops to be more along busier streets like Washington Road and more towards the front of shopping centers, tasking the county now to figure out the best way to move forward. In Columbia County, Nick Veland on your side.
And the county tells us they're looking at neighborhood or neighboring communities to see how they handle placement of tattoo shops in their area. Well, the graduations keep on coming. It was a packed house inside USC Aiken Convocation Center yesterday. Earlier, seniors from South Aiken High School walked across the stage to get their diplomas. That was the first of 3 graduations yesterday. We also had Aiken Scholars and Midland Valley High School. After the ceremony, we asked how it feels now that school's over.
It's like a bittersweet moment for me. I will miss everyone.
I kind of got mixed emotions about it because it's a big change, but it's also a big relief. So.
The Aiken Scholar ceremony was at 5, and then Midland Valley was at 8 o'clock, also all at the Convocation Center. Keep in mind, Bell Parkway from Trolley Line Road to Gregg Highway, will be impacted by will be impacted by traffic. We also have 4 more graduations today. That's going to be North Augusta starting at 9 a.m., so coming up here in about 45 minutes. Then they've got Ridge Spring Minetta at noon. Aiken High School is going to be at 3. Silver Bluff High School is going to be at 6. So a full day of graduations there at the Convocation Center. Congratulations to all of our local grads. This is the last day of graduations over in Aiken County. So again, we're proud of you guys. Congratulations. And school is out for this summer in Aiken County. For many parents and businesses, there's another concern on the horizon, a shorter summer break, since the district is going to that year-round schedule for next school year. That means higher turnaround for businesses that rely on teens this time of the year. Our Hallie Turner talked to a parent and a business working on adjusting.
As the school bell rings one last time, a new challenge awaits.
It's a panic because it's new to all of us.
Tierra Calhoun is talking about Aiken County's new year-round school calendar.
With the summer slide being a thing, I want to be able to keep them busy and not go crazy.
After the shorter summer passes, there will be longer 2-week breaks throughout the year.
So the struggles would be needing a sitter. I still have to go to work. You know, a lot of parents still have to go to work. So needing a sitter would be the biggest hassle for everyone, really.
But as for businesses scrambling to find workers, it seems a lot of businesses who hire high schoolers aren't too concerned.
There's ebbs and tides with all businesses. With ours, you just kind of adjust what you're doing and move forward.
John's putt-putt course has been in Aiken for more than 20 years. He says change always comes with school employees, but he's used to working around their ever-changing schedules.
Some of them, depending on what their school schedule is, when they start back to school, some of them will stay, still do weekend work with us versus 7 days a week. But, Aiken's such a unique community that we've got some really great kids that go to school here. So just tapping into that has been a big asset for us.
Because without kids out for the summer to work, there aren't kids out for the summer to play.
And just another reminder for parents, kids go back in July this year, not in August, with a new fall break being added to the schedule coming up in October. We also heard from teachers who are having to adjust, preparing for the upcoming school year, just 6 weeks to plan instead of their normal 3 months. Jada Walker caught up with a teacher at Hammond Hill Elementary to see how she's getting ready.
That preparation starts now, before the school year is even officially over. We're preparing now, and so with early dismissals, the kids are leaving at 11, and so teachers still have time to stay and work. Some of the teachers already have a roster, like I know we have half of our roster, and so I'm going to be looking over their individual education plan.
Even though teachers are on a tighter timeline, Ms. Griffiths believes the shorter summers will help students retain information better.
In the summertime, we had such a long break. When our kids came back, some of our kids struggled in remembering what they learned. Hopefully with this modified schedule, we could help them retain that information and just maintain those skills throughout the school year.
Some teachers agree, saying it cuts the summer vacation with their family shorter too. But the grand majority of feedback the school system says has been positive, and like it or not, is happening.
There you go. That's the bottom line. Like it or not, it's happening. It may be, a year or two adjustment, but I feel like once we get, a couple years into this thing, people will really start to be adjusted to it, and it shouldn't be too much of a problem. So, school July 25th in Aiken County, and then that first fall break is going to be in October. They're going to go 2 weeks, just about, from the 2nd to the 13th. So, parents, just make sure you're adjusting those schedules accordingly. Each year, the Augusta Exchange Club, or the Exchange Club from Augusta, donates the proceeds from the Georgia-Carolina State Fair and the Augusta charity back to our community. Yesterday, a donation of $5,000 went to the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Greg Wilson, the Metro Director for the Greater Augusta FCA, says donations like these are crucial to the nonprofit.
Anytime you're talking about a nonprofit, you're talking about someone who exists on donations like these. So it means a lot to us to have community support, and that's what we've gotten here today.
In total, the Exchange Club says it donated $200,000 to the community over the past year. Remember Camp Rainbow? Well, 7 University of Georgia Bulldogs showed up at Camp Rainbow yesterday to surprise the campers. This week, the Children's Hospital of Georgia is hosting 60 kids with a cancer diagnosis or a sibling of a kid with cancer. The football players signed T-shirts, footballs, and necklaces. They posed for photos and talked with campers as well. Everyone gathered for a basketball game before having an afternoon snack. Good on those guys for swinging over there, spending a little time. I can't really make out all the players, but saw Lad McConkey in there. Pretty cool. Might have been Kieris Jackson, number 10. I don't know. Was he a senior last year? I can't keep up. Okay, let's move on to some statewide news here. A new report shows Georgia's film industry is actually growing faster than anywhere else in the country, including Hollywood itself. According to the Motion Picture Association, the industry is now responsible for more than 137,000 jobs. Our State House reporter Abby Kasouris reports Georgia's entertainment success now extends from Atlanta to Savannah, all across our state.
Quality of life that we have here in Georgia, the type of culture that we have here in Georgia is very attractive to a lot of people who maybe have been in this sort of rat race of Los Angeles.
Tiffany Fitzhenry is a producer. She says back in the early 2000s, she was told she'd have to leave Georgia and work in Hollywood. Not anymore. She's produced some of the more than 400 films and television shows filmed here in Georgia last year.
Studios all over. I was just in Columbus. I was in Thomasville, out in Augusta.
This film, a $30 million budget with stars like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, filming right here in Georgia.
I'm bringing a film here called Flash Before the Bang.
Film is a $4 billion industry in Georgia. Tax incentives have spurred billions of dollars of investments, including here at Assembly Atlanta, owned by our parent company, Gray Television. Right now, this is a construction site, but soon you'll see a state-of-the-art 135-acre complex with production studios, sound stages that will employ more than 4,000 people at the site of the old GM plant.
I think to see Assembly come online and to be able to grow that market is amazing, and I think we're going to see so many more films come into the state because of that.
Brennan Dicker with Georgia State University is studying Georgia's film industry. His latest report shows the state's tax credit is encouraging companies like Gray to invest.
15 years' time, we've become a global leader in entertainment, because of this incentive that we put in place.
He's found the economic benefit now reaches far beyond Atlanta to northeast Georgia, the Georgia mountains, the heart of Georgia, and the coast near Savannah.
The geographic topography of the state of Georgia is amazing. We do have mountains and we have beach, and so it's very easy for filmmakers to come here and find different areas that are very different than having to go to New York or LA.
While the film industry in Louisiana, North Carolina, and Florida have slowed, the entertainment business has never been better here in Georgia. In Doraville, I'm Abby Kasouris.
And we've seen plenty of big movies and whatnot and big names here in Augusta. We had Suicide Squad was filmed at the old jail. We had a Mel Gibson movie, I think it was. I want to say Bruce Willis was here a couple years back. So we've had quite a few big names here in Augusta. Now, we were actually had a couple of News 12 folks that were in a movie, but our scene got cut. A little upset about that. But anyway, Georgia's film industry has its effect on the CSRA as well. Students at AU's animation department are crucial for training the next generation of artists, and Georgia's Film Tax Incentive Program brings more movie sets here to our area, as we just talked about. A national group called Youth Villages broke ground on a $70 million project just outside of Atlanta. It's a residential campus for kids who struggle with mental and behavioral issues. The new campus will have youth cottages, education buildings, and a recreation and wellness center.
We are able to redefine it, to make it more of a community, to make it more pedestrian, to really make it a healing space while these children are away from their families.
Youth Villages is a national leader in children's mental and behavioral health. Heads up, if you're doing any traveling, the Georgia Attorney General's office wants to warn you to watch out for scams on vacation deals. The losses reported nationally are $19 million. That's according to the Georgia Attorney General's office. They're seeing scammers lurking on phony business websites and recommend you do your research on the company and the property. One thing to watch out for is any deal that sounds too good to be true, and any deal that asks you to send cash, money orders, or anything else right up front.
Ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure, because once that money's out of your pocket, it may not be coming back.
State Attorney General's office says if you think you've been scammed, contact your local law enforcement agency to report it. And, you know, we see it. Scammers are everywhere these days. So just in general, if you think something's too good to be true, it probably is. Make sure you're doing your homework out there, especially with summer coming up. A lot of vacations going on. Well, this time last year, more than half of South Carolina's schools lacked access to a mental health counselor. But in the last year, there's been a major shift. Now, students at 80% of schools will be able to have access to an important resource. State House reporter Mary Green explains how this happened and what effects schools are seeing.
In January 2022, Governor Henry McMaster requested a review into mental health services at South Carolina's public schools. That report found the state was falling well short of where it needed to be to help its students. Now, a year later, South Carolina has made significant progress in addressing those shortcomings, and schools like here at Batesburg-Leesville High School say it's paying off.
And it's such a comfort to parents when they come to me as a principal and they're struggling with meeting this need for their child, and they're unable to help, and they feel completely helpless and lost and don't know what to do, and I can say, don't worry. I've got professional help for you right in this building.
For the first time this past school year, Batesburg-Leesville High School in Lexington County had its own mental health counselor on staff, whom it shares with the nearby primary school. That became possible because of changes the state implemented last summer, giving districts more flexibility to hire counselors and increasing reimbursement rates to make these jobs more competitive and appealing. Now there are nearly 400 more mental health counselors in South Carolina public schools compared to last year, a 66% increase. 118 more schools gained access to a counselor in that time, and 80% of all schools in the state now have access to these services. There's district-wide access in more than half the state's districts.
We really want to provide these counseling services in schools to have our schools work as an early intervention system to hopefully mitigate mental health issues in students and in younger children before they continue to develop.
Research has found that students in South Carolina are 21 times more likely to access mental health services at school than anywhere else. Reporting Lexington County, I'm Mary Green.
South Carolina's counselor to student ratio is much improved from a year ago. By the end of 2023, the state wants to see it even lower, to the equivalent of having a counselor in every school in South Carolina. A bill to criminalize fentanyl trafficking in South Carolina is on its way to Governor McMaster's desk. Once signed into law, people convicted of trafficking the drug would face up to 40 years behind bars, depending on the amount of fentanyl they had and if they had a previous trafficking conviction. Senators also upped the penalty if they're caught with a gun. That means 5 more years in prison and a $2,000 fine tacked on, and they would no longer be able to own a gun. Disagreements within the United Methodist Church over LGBTQ issues have caused more than 100 South Carolina churches to split with the denomination. 113 Methodist churches voted to leave in South Carolina. It's a process, as Ray Lorena reports, church leaders described as somber and respectful.
11 churches in the Lowcountry will be leaving the United Methodist Church at the end of the month. A key issue is the potential future of allowing LGBTQ plus clergy and same-sex marriage to be performed. Currently, that's not allowed, but might possibly change.
We will not recognize that because we feel like that is not biblically correct. Does that mean we don't want them to come to our church? We don't love them? That's not true.
Pastor Brian Pigford of Cokesbury United Methodist Church says his congregation is staying with the denomination. He says the battle over the religion's book of discipline, essentially their constitution, has been ongoing for over 50 years, and adds there's debate about the Bible scripture.
God's instruction is in that text, but we also recognize that there was human hands involved with it, and so that in that humanness in it, there is room for interpretation.
Aldersgate's congregation members say they stand by the church's decision to step away.
I know that we're going to stay the same, and we're the church of a warm heart. We love everybody. Everybody's welcome to come to our church. We support and service anybody who walks through those doors.
As the identity of the Methodist Church begins to change, Pigford says while it's saddening, he believes it presents an opportunity for religious growth.
Now that this decision is behind us, we can live fully into our United Methodist identity, and we can sit and discern how we can best serve our community.
Church leaders say they'll still operate as a United Methodist Church through the end of the month, and then they will join the Global Methodist Church on July 1st. A victim of a Columbia, South Carolina apartment fire is recounting the moments a fire swept through her home. The same fire killed an Irmo firefighter last month and put 19 people out of a home. 28-year-old Raven Du Bois was one of 2 tenants rescued from that fire. She was sleeping off a 13-hour night shift when she was caught up by the flames. 12% of her body was burned.
Fire was like just burning all over me, like it was burning all over my chest. It was burning me in my face. It was burning me all on my legs and feet and private areas, and the pain was so unbearable.
Now she faces a years-long road to recovery. The cause of the fire was ruled an accident earlier this week, but fire teams are still investigating any code violations by the complex. Let's move on to some national news here. Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley visited a crew on an oil rig yesterday in Texas, where she talked to employees and talked about her American energy plan. Haley also mentioned U.S. relations with China, referencing the spy balloon that flew over the country earlier this year. And she also talked about the ongoing war between Ukraine and Russia.
I mean, why is everybody surprised that China's putting a spy base in Cuba? I mean, this is the same country that has turned around and had a spy balloon go over America. I mean, it didn't go over South Carolina because we have beautiful beaches, which we do. It went over South Carolina because we're a military state. They're stealing $600 billion in intellectual property from us every year. What are we doing about it? Nothing.
Haley also said if the U.S. becomes energy independent, it would diminish Russia. For the first time in American history, a former president is facing federal charges. Donald Trump has been indicted on charges of mishandling classified documents at his Florida estate. As Nicole D'Antonio reports, the former president broke the news himself on his social media platform.
Former President Donald Trump said Thursday he has been indicted over his handling of sensitive government documents. Sources tell CBS News that the multi-count indictment is connected to the allegedly unlawful retention of national defense information and obstruction of government efforts to retrieve them. Trump posted on social media Thursday that he has been ordered to appear at a federal courthouse next Tuesday and released a video discussing the matter.
It's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax, just like
Russia, 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 just like the fake dossier was a hoax.
The former president has denied any wrongdoing in the case.
There's really not much legally that could potentially help him by saying this is going to happen. I mean, all of this is political. All of this is so that he can frame the narrative. We can hear it from him first, and his supporters will continue to be told this is a witch hunt. This is all the political weaponization of the Department of Justice.
In a statement, Trump said, quote, "I never thought it possible that such a thing could happen to a former president of the United States who received far more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country and is currently leading by far all candidates, both Democrat and Republican, in polls of the 2024 presidential election. I am an innocent man." Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News, Washington.
The indictment would make Trump the first president in U.S. history to face federal charges and the first charges to arise from special counsel Jack Smith's investigations of the former president. A decision from the Supreme Court will decide who votes where. In a 5-4 vote yesterday, the Supreme Court struck down the Republican-drawn congressional districts in Alabama that civil rights activists say discriminate against black voters. Alice Barr explains.
A major Supreme Court ruling today upholds the landmark Voting Rights Act of 1965 that outlawed discrimination based on race. The surprise 5-4 ruling from the conservative-leaning court has Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Brett Kavanaugh crossing over to vote with the 3 liberal justices.
Today was a historic win, not just a win for the African-American voters in Alabama. It was a win for democracy itself.
The decision strikes down Republican-drawn congressional districts in Alabama that civil rights activists say diminished black voting power by cramming a majority of African-American voters into 1 district out of 7, even though Alabama's population is more than a quarter black. Those maps will now be redrawn. Alabama argued it was taking a race-neutral approach instead of sorting voters by race. Conservative Justice Clarence Thomas agreed, arguing the Constitution does not guarantee, quote, the proportional allocation of political power on the basis of race. But the majority ruled that it doesn't matter whether the state's intent was to discriminate racially. What matters is that was the effect. That could send a message to other states redrawing their congressional boundaries, particularly in the quickly growing South.
Overwhelmingly, that population growth comes in communities of color, and they're not being represented in the maps that legislatures have drawn.
However, Justices Roberts and Kavanaugh both argued for a narrow interpretation of their ruling, leaving open future challenges to the law. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
College students dealing with student loan debt can now breathe a sigh of relief for now. The president vetoed a bill that would have canceled the loan forgiveness program. President Biden then went on to say he won't back down from helping hardworking people, but the bill still faces legal challenges and opposition from Republicans and some Democrats too.
Some of the same members of Congress who supported this bill voted through huge tax cuts for corporations and the wealthy as well. But when it comes to hardworking Americans trying to get ahead, dealing with the student debt relief, that's where they drew the line.
The bill offers forgiveness up to $20,000 in debt for students who went to college on Pell Grants and $10,000 for those who went without if specific requirements are met. New York City, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. once again endured unhealthy air Thursday, while smoke from Canadian wildfires spread deeper into the U.S. Bradley Blackburn reports from New York.
A large part of the U.S. suffered under smoky skies for another day. Alerts extended from the Northeast to as far south as Knoxville, Tennessee. The situation improved somewhat in New York, which saw some of its worst air quality ever on Wednesday, but remained at far from healthy levels. Smoke from hundreds of Canadian wildfires continued to prompt Americans to take precautions.
Trying to be very thoughtful about kind of how I'm going about my activity.
I'm going down to D.C. To see my girlfriend, and I don't want to get this all in my system.
Chicago White Sox third baseman Yoan Moncada wore a face covering during Thursday night's game at Yankee Stadium. That didn't stop him from hitting this third-inning home run. Down in Washington, the Nationals game had to be rescheduled as D.C. experienced a code purple alert. indicating very unhealthy air quality.
It's very important that affected communities listen to the guidance of their state and local officials from this point forward.
President Biden says he's offered Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau additional help from the U.S. to put out the fires up north. Tourists had a hard time seeing historical sites like the Jefferson Memorial through the pollution.
The bottom line is poor air quality has impacts on many people and communities all across America. This is one more reason for us to think about issues like climate change as an urgent priority.
Back in New York, the city's public schools are pivoting to remote learning Friday because of air quality concerns. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
The EPA says most healthy adults and kids will recover quickly from smoke exposure and will not have long-lasting health effects. But again, I mean, I get the pictures from my buddies up in the Philly area, and wow, they got some stuff they're dealing with up there. Being able to see is pretty important for pilots, so many flights were diverted or outright canceled because of all the smoke we're seeing. Brittany Ford talked to some travelers impacted by the hazy smoke. Excuse me.
Images out of New York show skyscrapers engulfed in orange-red haze. Thick smoke from ongoing wildfires in Canada, causing New York's LaGuardia and Newark Liberty International airports to halt flights Wednesday. Here in Atlanta,
when we were leaving, it was starting to get bad. You can see the haze coming in. We were going from Times Square to LaGuardia.
Travelers coming back to Hartsfield-Jackson from New York.
Yesterday and today, when you open the curtain at the hotel room, you can only see like 3-4 buildings in front of you. Anything beyond that is gone.
Amazed at how quickly conditions changed.
We had no idea that there were ground stops.
In one of its latest updates, the FAA stated it had slowed traffic to and from New York area airports due to reduced visibility. The agency continues to monitor the situation. Meanwhile, travelers back home grateful to be out just in time.
I'm glad we're here. We finally got back to Atlanta.
Yeah, again, hopefully this stuff all gets cleared up pretty quickly and we can get kind of back to normal. Doing a little traveling myself up there in the next couple weeks, so hopefully things start clearing up. An Iowa woman who got trapped under that collapsed apartment building is speaking out from her hospital bed. Lexis Berry is suing the city of Davenport and the building's owner, accusing them of negligence, citing a city inspection that was not up to code. While help got to the scene quickly, they couldn't get her out for at least 6 hours. She says she didn't hesitate when first responders said they needed to amputate her leg on the spot.
There was nothing to think about. I wanted to live. I didn't want to be trapped. I didn't want to be I didn't want more debris to fall on me because it was already hard enough. And to be honest, I didn't want the firefighters to have to be trapped or beaten down or bruised with anything. Like I wanted everyone to make it out of there alive. And with no hesitation, amputate what you have to do. Do what you have to do to get me out of here.
An incredibly difficult decision. 3 men died in that accident. A spokesperson for an owner of the building said they're devastated and their hearts go out to everyone involved, displaced, injured, and those who have lost their lives. Ukraine's Ministry of Defense says some of the country's forces have gone from the defensive to the offensive. It's an admission that Ukraine has launched an initiative to retake land being held by Russian forces. Russia's military is reporting heavy fighting in the region connecting Russia to Crimea. Britain's defense ministry says fighting continues along multiple parts of the front, with Ukrainian forces appearing to make progress. The fighting has hampered efforts to rescue people from the flooding caused by this week's explosion at a dam. Kilauea volcano on the Big Island in Hawaii. Lava has been erupting there for more than 24 hours. At one point, lava fountains went more than 200 feet into the air. The area is on high alert, but there is no immediate danger to the surrounding area because it's located in a national park. Park visitors were forced to steer clear, but were mesmerized nonetheless. Casey Lund from our sister station, KHNL in Honolulu, spoke with park goers who get to witness the fantastic display of nature.
Aloha from Kilauea and Halima'u Mountain Crater. We want to get you right down to the lava and what so many people are flocking to Hawaii Volcanoes National Park to see. We're at Uikahuna. This is one of the viewing areas where Jagger Museum used to be, just a little left of the museum if you're looking at the crater, which we are now, and we'll take you down to see some of those fountains. And that video, if you saw it, was absolutely spectacular. And then seeing the lava lake fill up so quickly, it was really something to see as we were watching on those USGS cameras. When we got here in person, though, it's always really a awesome thing to see in person, and that's why so many people have come here. We talked to some of the folks that came to Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. Here's what some of those visitors had to say.
The shakes were scary. I've never experienced an earthquake, and the one at 2 o'clock was quite big. We all really woke up, but didn't expect that. Did not expect to see this.
The best day actually in my life, actually. It's the first time I've ever seen live lava, and it's an awesome place to be here in Volcanoes National Park.
It was really cool, but kind of scary because I had never seen lava up close like that.
Again, USGS is saying that as of now, there's no imminent threat to the lower East Rift Zone. The lava seems to be contained right here at Halima'u Mountain Crater. That's good news, but of course they're keeping an eye on it. Make sure you stay with HawaiiNewsNow.com for the latest, and we'll also have some of the best images on our website as well.
Casey Lund, Hawaii News Now.
Pretty crazy there, yeah. Good to stay from a distance. And you heard those people say, "You never seen lava in person before." Relatable. I haven't either. We don't get a lot of volcanic activity here in Augusta, Georgia, but cool to see it across the way. As long as it's not endangering anybody, we're all for it. Religious broadcaster and one-time presidential candidate Pat Robertson died at his home in Virginia Beach early yesterday morning. Robertson used the power of television to advance the Christian conservative agenda. Stephanie Elam gives us a closer look at his life.
Lord God, fill me now with your Spirit.
Pat Robertson was a seminal figure of the religious right. He founded the Christian Broadcasting Network, the political advocacy group, the Christian Coalition, and the Christian College Regent University. But he was also known for his outspoken views on homosexuality, feminism, and a host of other hot-button issues.
There isn't one single civilization that has survived that openly embraced homosexuality.
In 2001, he agreed with fellow televangelist Jerry Falwell that God allowed the 9/11 terrorists to succeed because America had moved to the left and removed religion from the mainstream.
I totally concur.
The Yale Law School graduate and Korean War vet had a religious awakening in the late 1950s. He bought a bankrupt local station in Portsmouth, Virginia, and it became the first outlet for the Christian Broadcast Network. It was the first Christian TV network in the U.S. and became one of the world's largest TV ministries. Its flagship program was the daily show he hosted, The 700 Club, named for the 700 donors who launched it in 1961.
I plan to make a formal announcement of my candidacy for the Republican nomination for the presidency of the United States.
Robertson, whose father was a congressman and U.S. senator, ran as a Republican presidential candidate in 1988. He came in second in the Iowa caucus, but his campaign didn't fare as well in other primary states. He dropped out of the race and returned to hosting the 700 Club, where he famously made bold predictions that didn't always come true.
Romney will win the election.
You believe that?
I absolutely believe
What makes you believe that?
Because the Lord told me.
Pat Robertson, a key founder of the conservative Christian movement, who never shied away from expressing his views, no matter how controversial they might be.
No words yet on an official cause of death, but Robertson was 93 years old. About 2 hours down the coast is Folly Beach, where one of the South's only beach cleanups for World Ocean Day happened yesterday. Elisheva Wimberly shows us how environmental nonprofits are teaming up to take care of our beaches.
Today is the third annual Global Eco Adventures Coastal Cleanup here on Folly Beach, where people can come out and participate in a beach cleanup, learn about the environment, and do litter journaling. Litter journaling is when you take note of how many of each piece of litter is found. This event started 3 years ago when its director, Cheyenne Twilley, noticed that there were no events for World Ocean Day across the Carolinas. She decided to take matters into her own hands, and this event has expanded to 4 locations across the world, including Folly Beach, Myrtle Beach, Maui, and San Cristobal, Galapagos Islands. Participants can meet at the beach side of the Tides Hotel at 4 o'clock today and will separate amongst 4 locations, 2 on the street side and 2 on the beach side. Last year, Twilley says plastic straws and cigarette butts were the most common items found in the cleanup, even though cigarettes aren't even allowed on the beach. She says the accountability has to start somewhere.
Starts with awareness, right? So awareness inspires conservation, and what people don't know, we can't expect them to protect. So perhaps the city might not know how substantial that number was. If we can bring it to their attention, now they have something to work with.
Great thing they're doing out there, cleaning up those beaches a little bit. Can never do that too much. You know, obviously very hot spot. You know, we heard the filmmakers talking about how Georgia's got the beaches and the mountains. South Carolina obviously known for its beaches, so keeping those clean, good thing to do. Okay. Speaking of the ocean, meteorologists across Georgia and South Carolina and North Carolina even met yesterday to discuss how the South handles hurricanes and the flooding they can bring. This comes as coastal storm surge is the #1 killer for tropical storms.
What we try to do is prepare ahead of the season by getting everyone together in the same room to discuss issues that really affect all of us. So the National Hurricane Center is here right now as well. So we're all together and we're preparing ahead of time. When we do get impacted by a hurricane, we all know what each other could bring to the table and how we can work together to really help save lives across the Carolinas.
Several national agencies were also there, including FEMA and the National Weather Service. The family of a World War II veteran, Cecil Barncords, is finally able to bid him farewell more than 80 years after his death. Drew McKelson has the details of the burial with full military honors.
It's a procession 80 years overdue.
Yeah, the military takes care of their men and women, you know.
But it's never too late to honor a veteran.
It's very emotional because I've been trying to get this to happen since 2015.
Tom Rowe flew from Atlanta to help memorialize an uncle he never met.
Growing up, I always knew that he was killed there.
Navy electrician's mate Cecil Barncourt was killed in the attack at Pearl Harbor in 1941. Barncourt was one of the 429 sailors who died when the Japanese torpedoed the USS Oklahoma.
This road ain't too good.
Larry Mason is another nephew of Barncourt, whose memorial turned into a family introduction.
I hear a rumor that you're Larry.
Yeah.
I'm Tom Rowe, your cousin.
Well, glad to meet you, cousin.
Their parents were siblings.
Uncle Cecil right in the middle.
Yeah.
That must be my mother.
Brought together by a tragedy and a triumph of science and persistence.
It's amazing, you know, that DNA, they can find out who the relations and stuff.
For decades, Barncourt's remains were buried in Hawaii, listed as unidentified.
At the Punch Bowl, Cecil's name is recorded on the Courts of the Missing.
But today, more than 81 years later, Barncourt's getting a memorial with full military honors in Mossy Rock.
Now our electrician's mate, 3rd class, Cecil E. Barncourt, returns home to family and friends.
Why Mossy Rock, a small Lewis County town Barncourt never visited?
I'll cherish the rest of my life.
DNA samples identified Larry Mason as Barncourt's oldest living relative. Mason has other families buried at Mossy Rock's Swafford Cemetery.
This is been a day I've been looking forward to, if you can put it that way, since 2015. And I want to thank Larry for making it happen.
This many people turn out, and the guy's been gone for over 81 years, you know. It's something else.
I'm really glad I came. Are there any other nephews or nieces I don't know about?
No.
Amazing that they were able to get that, I think they said 80 years later, and bringing family together and giving them that proper burial. Really cool to see. Kids are out of school for the summer, and it's about this time where you realize the expensive back-to-school shopping and how pricey that can be. Rachel DePompa finds out how to plan for some summer activities on a budget.
Summertime isn't cheap, especially if you have kids. That's why it's important to look at your overall budget for the next 3 months and plan out your costs per week. Cherry Dale, a financial coach with the Virginia Credit Union, says summer expenses are what we call variable expenses, meaning they are not a set expense that you are going to have to pay every single month. She says you can do small things to increase your income during that time to help you cover the extra costs.
If you have kids, you probably have old clothes, used toys. Maybe it's time to sell some of that, go to a consignment store, get some extra income to add to your summer budget.
If you're still looking for some summer camps, you may find some low cost and even free options from churches and nonprofits. Libraries are also a great place to look up free activities for your kids. If you have a child going to summer camp, make sure to find out what is provided or whether you need to budget for the cost of breakfast or lunch. Are there any activities you need to plan for? And Dale says include your child in the discussions.
Just having those conversations, I think, is really important at an early age. So the concept of actually paying for things and what you're getting out of it and what you need to be responsible for, you're starting that off early, and summer is a good time to do that.
She says if you help them understand the cost and value of things at an early age, it really helps them learn important lessons for later in life. With this Watch in Your Wallet, I'm Rachel DePompa.
Smartphones can do so many things we find useful: send emails, send texts, browse the internet, use a calculator, a camera, the countless other things we use it for every day. But you may not know some of the little things your smartphone can do, little things that only power users know about. Our consumer tech reporter Jamie Tucker explains a few cool iPhone tips and tricks that can change how you go about your day.
I like to call these things some of those, I was today years old when I learned. 3 iPhone shortcuts that you may want to try out right away. How many times do you select old text messages to delete and you have to check or select each one individually, like these 2-factor authentication notifications? On an iPhone, this is a lot easier. Just use 2 fingers, tap and hold, and then swipe down. You'll select every text message you swipe across, then just tap delete. Have you ever scrolled through a website or news article and then wanted to go back to the top to start from the very beginning and you have to keep swiping? Well, instead of doing that, just tap on the upper right-hand corner of the screen near the battery and Wi-Fi icons. The taps will return you to the very top of the page in Chrome or the Safari browser. Did you know you can listen to the radio on an iPhone? Just ask Siri to tune in. Hey Siri, play WMOT radio station. You just need the call letters along with radio station. Play KEXP radio station. And you can listen to radio stations from anywhere in the U.S. as long as you know the call letters and say radio station. And you don't need a secondary app for this. Apple has a radio built into Apple Music that most people have never used. Maybe they don't even know about it. This is great for listening to sports when you're on the road, and you can listen to the Home Team Radio Network. That's What the Tech. I'm Jamie Tucker.
Actually, I had no idea about that radio. That's actually pretty cool. Well, all of these tricks work on iPhones running the latest operating system, which is iOS 16. If it doesn't work on your phone, just try to update your system.
On Your Sideline, sports brought to you by the Hawk Law Group.
The Cross Creek boys basketball program has had a lot of success over the past 4 years. This senior class certainly played a role in helping the Razorbacks bring home a couple of state championships to Augusta. A few Razorbacks have signed their letters of intent to play in college. Forward Antoine Lorick made his share of explosive plays in high school, and now he's going to Navarro College on a full athletic scholarship. Guard Isom Anthony is taking his talents to play at the next level as well. He'll be attending Bruton Parker College. Their teammate, DeKel Hobbs, is on his way to USC Beaufort by way of a full athletic scholarship.
The success that those guys have had, I mean, you're talking 3 state title runs. We win in back-to-back state titles, and then a Final Four run to finish it off is remarkable for them. We're going to miss them. We got some big holes to fill, but they're going on to bigger and better things, and we look forward to seeing them on the next level.
The Razorbacks came up 2 victories short of winning their 3rd straight state championship this season. Switching gears to college baseball, the South Carolina Gamecocks will continue their journey to the College Baseball World Series when they take on the Florida Gators in Gainesville. This best-of-3 Super Regional Series begins tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Game 2 will be on Saturday at 3, and if necessary, a series-deciding Game 3 will be on Sunday. The Gamecocks' bats are on fire right now, scoring a total of 41 runs in their last 3 games.
So if South Carolina has to, win the series in Gainesville, they haven't won a series in Gainesville in the College World or in the Super Regional since 2011. Went on to win the College World Series that year. So we'll see what happens. Well, did you know there are 8 land trails scattered across Columbia County? Most people don't. That's why the Visitor Center has launched a new campaign called the Bomb Basin Land Trail. The idea came after the success of the Serene 18 Paddle Trail. Our Will Volk found a local business also hoping to see a spike in profits.
Ever since Columbia County created its Serene 18 paddle trail, Katie Wright has noticed more people renting kayaks.
It gives people kind of the idea, something to work towards, something to complete over the summer.
The Columbia County Visitors Center launched the program 3 years ago to encourage people to explore 5 local waterways. Executive Director Shelley Blackburn says thousands of people, including many from out of the area, took the challenge.
As soon as we launched Serene 18, we had several people from the community reach out and say, hey, why don't you do this with our land trails?
Now, that's what they've done. The Bomb Basin Land Trail introduces you to 8 existing land trails across Columbia County. The field guide is filled with information about each one.
We've long been known for our natural resources, and this is just one more piece of that that we hope will attract more people to our community.
Wright's business also rents bikes, and she hopes this program will help give business another boost.
We have so many trails in the county, just like we have so many waterways in the county, and I think that hopefully it will get people on their bikes more.
In Columbia County, Will Volk, on your side.
You can pick up a field guide for free at the Columbia County Visitor Center, where you can walk, run, or bike and check off each location from your list. Again, you can always find these stories and more on our website, WRDW.com. Be sure to download the streaming app and also subscribe to the YouTube channel. Got about 4 minutes here till midday, so if you're watching on the app, just stay put. The midday will, or not midday, morning mix. If you're watching on the app, stay put. Morning mix will come to you. If you are watching on the YouTube channel, be sure to check it out on the TV side or on the WRDW app. So I'll be back here a little bit later on today. We've got Augusta Christian's baseball coach to talk about their recent state championship run. So that'll be coming up with Dan at 11 o'clock. We'll see you back here then.